Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share with you a lesson today. I'm going to share with you lesson 13, which is estimate the size of fractions using 1/2. Just a reminder that students before this lesson has really had an introduction to fractions. They've worked with proper fractions as well as improper fractions. They've compared fractions, and now we're helping them to estimate using a benchmark of 1/2. So the first part I'm going to share with you is the Learn section from lesson 13.
You've learned how to estimate fractions by thinking about how close they are to numbers like 0 or 1. This lesson teaches you another way to estimate fractions. You can estimate a fraction by thinking how close a fraction is to 1/2. Let's estimate this fraction by using 1/2. Is 5/12 greater than or less than 1/2? Let's think of it this way, with an example. Suppose two shops are offering a special deal on sandwiches. This shop is giving away 1/2 of a sandwich for every sandwich you buy. And this shop is giving away 5/12 of a sandwich for every sandwich you buy. So now you might have to decide which is the better deal. Is 5/12 greater than 1/2?
Okay, I'm just going to pause the animation just for 1 second. I want to point out in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there, you might see that navigation bar. And that's really available to students. It really puts students in control of their learning. Students can pause, stop, they can rewind the instruction. They can't fast forward in case you're wondering. And they can also take advantage of closed captioning, which is helpful for our hearing impaired students, as well as something called play-by-play mode, which really slows down the instruction for students and gives them one sentence of instruction at a time. Students can also take advantage in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen a glossary, and it's a Spanish and English glossary of consistent mathematical language that Fractionation uses throughout the program. All right, I'm going to continue the animation.
Let's picture this with a fraction strip. Here is one whole fraction strip. 12/12 is exactly one whole. What is half of 12/12? 1/2 of 12 is 6. So 6/12, or 6 1/12 pieces, is the same as 1/2 of the whole strip. So let's get back to estimating this fraction, 5/12. Is it greater than 1/2 or less than 1/2? 5/12 is less than 6/12. That means 5/12 is less than 1/2. Now it's your turn to estimate whether fractions are greater or less than 1/2.
Okay, so that gave you a sample of what a learn looks like within Fractionation. I think you can see we really are using dynamic visual representations. We're using the length model. So students will learn, and the next thing they'll do is practice. So I'm going to share with you a sample of a practice from lesson 13.
Estimate fractions with 1/2. Is 9/12 greater or less than 1/2? Check your estimate. Use the slider to create 9/12. Your estimate was right. 9/12 is greater than 1/2. Is 5/14 greater or less than 1/2? Check your estimate. Use the slider to create 5/14. Look carefully. 5/14 is less than 1/2.
Okay, so that is just a sample of the practice for lesson 13. Typically, students get between 3 to 6 problems within the practice, and this is really where the program gets adaptive. So students who do well within this section will be accelerated along, and students who struggle, they'll get more problems similar to the ones that they're getting incorrect. As a couple things to point out here, as you may notice, students are utilizing that slider, that digital manipulative, really connecting the abstract symbol with the concrete. In addition, you may have noticed as that student struggled on the second problem, there were scaffolded supports. And those scaffolded supports escalate in how we give them feedback. So the first time we'll do, if they get something incorrect, we'll give them some encouragement. So you saw, try again, Alex. The second time, we're going to give them some coaching. You might have noticed we said, look at the numerator of the fraction you're creating. And then finally, we are going to give that student the answer if they struggle on the third time. So again, that was just a sampling of the practice for lesson 13. Now, we've learned, we've practiced, now we're going to perform, and I'll show you part of a performance assessment for lesson 13.
You will try 10 estimations. For each problem, make an estimate if the fraction is greater or less than 1/2. Estimate fractions. Choose a fraction and make an estimate.
Okay, so that's just a sampling of a performance assessment. Typically, students do 2 sets of problems. If they ace the first set, they can, again, be accelerated along. They're rewarded for doing well. 2 things to point out here. One, you may have noticed that this is not your typical assessment, and students are really engaged. You may have noticed the cheering crowd gallery up in the right-hand corner of the screen. That's the Fractionation Citizens, that as students do well, they cheer louder and louder. As well as really students are making a decision based on the abstract symbol at this point, and then choosing their estimate. So we've learned, we've practiced, and performed, and that gives you a sample of what a typical assessment might look like within fractionation. At the end of the lesson, students can customize their nation. They're rewarded for their success. They're given their score immediately after they complete their lesson, and then they can pick from a number of citizens that they unlock as they do well, and they animate their fractionation. You saw that roadmap I showed you earlier, and these citizens on the screen, if they chose one, would animate and be there and follow them through fractionation. So you can think at the end of fractionation, a student will have about 64 citizens following them through and cheering them on.